Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're jumping into something that actually came up because one of you asked about it. It's a deep dive on a review of the Viofo A329S Dash camera.
That's right. Yeah, this wasn't just, a random pick. The reviewers specifically looked into this model because people were asking, were digging into what they found. Now, they mostly tested the A329, the predecessor.
Right.
But they do point out the A329S is the current one. And importantly, it adds support for up to 3 cameras, front, rear, and inside the cabin.
All right, 3 cameras. Okay, so let's get into this review then. What exactly did they find? Why did this thing kind of jump out at them, maybe even become a favorite? We want to pull out the main features, the value, just based on what this review is telling us.
Well, what's really striking is how quickly they get to the image quality. They called it incredible pretty much straight away.
Incredible. That's strong praise for a dash cam.
Yeah.
What specifically makes the quality stand out according to them?
It seems to be the mix of 2 things. First, 4K resolution, which gives you loads of detail, obviously. But second, and this is maybe the key bit, it records at 60 frames per second.
60 fps. Most are 30, right?
Exactly. Double the frame rate. And the review points out this allows for a faster shutter speed. What that means practically is, well, fast-moving stuff like other cars, or crucially, their license plates, stay much sharper. Less motion blur, basically.
Ah, okay. So it's not just about a clear picture when things are still, but keeping it sharp when, things are actually happening on the road. That seems vital if you ever need the footage for something serious.
Precisely. But then the review moves on to something they highlighted as really quite unique.
And this is the part that caught my eye, too, the whole storage situation. They're saying you can record not just to the usual little micro SD card, but directly to an SSD, a proper solid-state drive, using USB-C.
Yeah, exactly that. You can apparently plug in, say, a 2 TB SanDisk SSD, that's the example they gave, and just record for, well, they said weeks and weeks. Yeah, I mean, think about that compared to having a small SD card that loops every few hours or days.
Yeah.
It fundamentally changes how much recording history you can just have available.
Okay, weeks of footage that's a massive difference, especially if you drive a lot or just want that peace of mind of a long record. And they mentioned getting the files off is quicker, too.
Yeah, that's the other piece, Wi-Fi 6. The review mentions seeing wireless transfer speeds up around 30 megabytes per second.
Wow, okay.
Which, for context, is way faster than the older Wi-Fi you usually find in dash cams. So pulling off those potentially huge video files onto your phone or whatever becomes much less painful.
So, okay, summing that up, really good image quality, sharp even with motion, thanks to 4K 60 fps. Then this kind of unprecedented storage potential with SSDs and fast Wi-Fi to access it.
Yeah.
They like the setup too, right? Any downsides mentioned?
The main critique, really the only significant one they brought up, was about the screen on the back of the camera. Yeah, apparently on some cars, if the windshield has a really steep angle, it can make that built-in display kind of hard to see properly.
Okay. But I guess once it's all set up, you're probably using the phone app most of the time anyway.
Yeah.
Did they say if the app was okay?
Yeah, exactly. They found the app easy enough to use. So despite that little screen visibility issue on certain cars, the review's overall conclusion was pretty clear. The Viofo A329, and by extension the newer A329S, really delivered great quality, smooth experience. Yeah, they called it their favorite.
Right. So if we boil down what this review tells us, you're getting really sharp, detailed video. That 4K is good, but the 60 frames per second seems key for, real-world clarity on things that are moving.
For sure. And then there's the practicality, which the review really seemed to value. Being able to just plug in an SSD and record weeks of footage, that's huge. Plus the fast Wi-Fi 6 access, especially if you go for the A329S with potentially 3 camera feeds. The amount of documentation you can easily store and access is just on another level compared to most standard dash cams.
Yeah. So even with that minor point about screen visibility on some windshields, the core message seems to be excellent clarity, massive and easy storage access. It delivers that peace of mind knowing you've got extensive, high-quality records if you ever, God forbid, need them for insurance or, anything else.
It really does. Which actually brings up an interesting thought.
Go on.
Well, if it's now this easy, this practical, to record weeks of high-def footage from multiple angles and access it quickly, does that start to change how you think about, I don't know, the importance, maybe even the responsibility of just documenting pretty much all your time behind the wheel? It's something to consider.